Jay, it's a terrific question you've asked in that if we decide that all of our past, Western civilization, the American story, if it all just has to be deconstructed, that it's all fraudulent, it's all a lie, it's all just filled with all kinds of racist stuff, and it's no good to us, we've got to ask ourselves, well, what are we cutting ourselves off from? Isn't there really an amazingly rich inheritance, moral and spiritual inheritance in that tradition, the American tradition and the tradition of the classical Christian Western civilization of which it's a product? Certainly, our greatest civil rights leader, Martin Luther King, he really believed that that American tradition, that Western tradition, was worth salvaging and retrieving and appealing to, because that's exactly what he did in his letter from Birmingham jail. When you read that letter carefully, what does King do? He refers back to Socrates. He's back in the Old Testament, the Jews resisting unjust authority. He brings it up to the American founding, and he says very explicitly, we got to go back to those deep wells that were dug by the founders in the Declaration and the Constitution, the principles of freedom, calling us back to those ideals, not destroying them and pretending they weren't valid. That's something to think about. Are we going to cut ourselves off from such a rich cultural inheritance out of a sense of rage, which I think is driving a lot of the criticism, frankly, Jay?
Yeah, yes, sir. No question, and well said. And I had the privilege one time after Dr. King, the daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King, spoke to our students in DC, of walking up afterwards and thanking her and said, I want to say something to you and your family. I'm a Southern boy. I'm a cracker. I grew up with a Confederate flag on my wall, went to Lee Junior High School, lived in Lee County, Florida. I mean, I'm a Southern boy. And I believe with all my heart that the Creator, the Lord, gave us your father. And I believe your father was a gift to America because he appealed to the higher nature of our original documents, and even more importantly, what the scriptures teach us.
Yes.
And I said, so I just want you to know how grateful we are, but how much we love your father. And Southern boy here saying, if anybody ever gives you any grief, you call me. Okay.
Well, Jay, on that point, if Martin Luther King had abandoned his Christian heritage, of course, he's the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. If he'd abandoned that, then his civil rights movement would not have been peaceful. It would have turned to violence, and there would have been a kind of civil war, something like it in the 1960s. It was that Christian ethic. That's an inheritance worth thinking about. Now let's take it back to Lewis and Tolkien again. Part of their achievement, Jay, is that they are very committed to these older ideas about heroism and virtue and sacrifice. And they discovered those themes in the works that they had read as young men at Oxford, the canon, the literary canon. And part of what they're trying to do in their works is to take those myths, those ancient myths, and to reinvent them for the modern mind. That's precisely what Tolkien does in The Lord of the Rings, and what Lewis does in his own way in the Chronicles of Narnia and in the Space Trilogy, reinventing old myths, putting them into modern kind of language in a modern form. And that helps to explain their enduring appeal, because they speak to us where we are in this modern, postmodern age of ours, right? And yet they're embedded in these older understandings of virtue and the importance of the individual and faith and community, et cetera.
You talked a lot about the Inklings and obviously the tremendous friendship that Lewis and Tolkien had, and those others that they met with.
Yes.
I'm curious, as I'm just blown away by how you ooze such love and passion for the great issues of the day, but most the great issues that these great men wrestled with. And these, when we talk about the Western culture, we talk about the great influences of the West. I mean, it's obvious you're passionate about them. I mean, it oozes out of you as you write and as you speak. So I wonder, and this is a little personal, but and you don't have to necessarily name names, but do you have a group like now that you're going into this film new arena to bring to life some of these great truths, some of these great principles? And the brief introduction that y'all have done is unreal, by the way. I want to make sure, if with your permission, we're going to show that to everybody so they'll want to read the book tonight if they saw that brief introduction to it. But has there been a group like that for you? You know, again, as we think about, we're building a course on that book and just trying to say, life is tough.
Yeah.
The issues are real. The problems are all that's going on, but you need to have a group, someone that you do life with.
Yes. Thank you, Jay, for that question. And in addition to my family, and coming from an Italian-American family, you know, they're always the most important kind of circle, right?
Yes, sir.
And we Italian-Americans hang together, the Locontes, and then on my mother's side, the Aiellos, you know, we hang together and help each other in so many ways. I just wouldn't be here without my family and their love. But I guess they would say there were several circles of friends like that, in part because of my different interests, vocation, and living in different places. So there's a circle of Christians that we kind of came to faith at the same time back at the University of Illinois, people that I've stayed in touch with, and we're still walking through life together, even though we live in different places, different states. There's that kind of circle.
Yes, sir.
There's a circle of friends in kind of my New York, Washington axis, where we're mindful of these educational questions or the policy questions, and we're Christians, and we have, you know, a similar view on the world, and we get to meet together on at least semi-regular basis, you know, for a meal, and that's a wonderful fellowship. And then more recently, because I've been working on this film project, and you can find that trailer at hobbitwardrobe.com, by the way, hobbitwardrobe.com, the little film trailer. Now I've got this community of guys, my film team and I, working on this project. We've been on it now for a couple of years, interrupted by COVID, of course, and we're going to plunge back in with more filming here in the spring back in the UK. It is an amazing project, and it's wonderful to work with men. We're different personality types. We're all believers, but these guys are from California. I'm from New York. I mean, come on.
Well, it's good to have internationals, isn't it? When you put together.
Exactly, international. These guys are like aliens from another planet sometimes.
I understand.
You know? So the wonderful thing about that, Jay, is that when we're on the set and we're shooting and all, and if we have a difference of opinion, we have to work it through. We have to put our egos aside because we have a larger vision in mind. We have a larger project in mind, and it's finishing the film series. And it's wonderful to come together and to collaborate on something creatively and to learn how to resolve your differences in hopefully what is a deeply Christian way. And we've had to do that.
Well, and certainly what's going on in our nation, you know, this world that we call evangelicals, and certainly our Catholic brothers and sisters. Sometimes politics get us on one side or another. And sometimes it's an issue, and sometimes it's tone or something, you know, but that was a very good word for us in this day as well. And by the way, I love your reference to family. My wife is a Rasso, and there are they were the founders of the American Italian Club in Cape Coral, Florida.
Who knew?
And there's 5 of those girls that get together. And so my favorite hymn whenever they're together is "Help Me, Rhonda." But you know, but anyway, so I loved your reference to the family, the familia, and certainly it's very real. And for somebody like me, with all the broken homes, foster homes, being thrown into that world was
That's
like
wonderful.
hello.
Well, Jay, you'll appreciate this. My brother-in-law, also named Joe, terrific guy, you know, married my sister here, and my Italian sister. And he has a great T-shirt that says, "Pray for me, my wife is Italian."
All right, I need the website of where we can get that from, if you where I can get that shirt from.
Oh, that T-shirt. Yeah, I'll send that to you in a link. Yeah, no. But, you know, if I could, Lee, Jay, I'd love to read just a few lines here. This was
Please.
on the friendship question. This was one of the members of the Inklings that most people haven't heard about, but he was a dear friend to Lewis, a guy named Owen Barfield. He was one of the original members of the Inklings. They both fought in the First World War. They met at Oxford in 1919. We actually had a chance to interview his grandson for our film series there at Oxford, also named Owen Barfield. Wonderful guy. So he's a friend through Lewis going through life. Here it is now, it's 1938. And this 1930 is a crucial year in Europe because Hitler is making noises now about starting up another war, wanting to invade Czechoslovakia. That's what's going on when Lewis writes this letter to Owen Barfield, who he's known now for a couple of decades. And here's what he said, because there's a lot of anxiety and fear about what's going to happen next. He says to Lewis writing to Owen Barfield, I have a lot more to say on this when we meet. That is, if we meet. For of course, our whole joint world may be blown up before the end of the week. I can't feel in my bones that it will, but my bones know damn all about it. If we are separated, God bless you. And thanks for 100 good things I owe you, more than I can count or weigh. In some ways, we've had a corking time these 20 years.
Wow.
Wow.
That summarizes it, doesn't it?
What do you say, except you're just in awe? You're in awe of that, aren't you? That friendship.
Well, yes, sir. And what a great reminder of us that, if you want friends like that, you have to try to be a friend like that.
You have to invest. You have to invest in that. And they did. It's an amazing story.
I must ask you about the Heritage Foundation, what you're doing now.
Sure.
That seemed like, I'm going, oh, no. He's in New York. He's at King's College. Let's make sure we got to make sure we got the right guy, because this guy is who,
And I'm still at King's, have my affiliation with King's. I taught there 10 years, still an affiliate scholar, and do stuff with them. Love hanging out with the guys at King's. Great school. At the Heritage Foundation now, I'm the director of their Center for American Studies, Jay, and the Center for American Studies is there essentially to defend the founding, the American founding, the principles of the founding, our constitutional principles, fully aware and honest about our failures as a nation to live up to our highest ideals. So I, as an historian, I'm going to approach that with complete intellectual honesty and sobriety. But I also always want to remind people of what have been the historical alternatives to the United States and our system of democracy and capitalism. What have been the historical alternatives? Well, we've seen them. And quite frankly, they've been tried and found wanting, to put it gently. And some of the alternatives have led to the most devastating results in terms of human suffering that the world has ever seen: communism, fascism, and all the rest of it. So the alternatives to American democracy, our constitutional system, are very unpleasant. And we want to have a more perfect union. Let's work together to have that, but let's not ignore or forget or deny the incredible achievements we have made in producing and sustaining a democratic culture, a more just society.
The Heritage Foundation, how long have they been in existence?
Boy, we're going on our, I think, 50-year anniversary is coming up, actually. So we got something to celebrate here in a couple of years. So, look forward to that. Stay tuned for that.
Well, that ought to be a big one, because their fingerprints have been all over a lot of resources, encouragement, truth that they've been willing to tackle some issues that, frankly, everyone else said stay away from. And they wrestled that to the ground to help us get to what actually happened. And so on so many levels, I'm grateful for the Heritage Foundation.
Thank you for that, Jay. And people can go find my profile there at heritage.org. You can also go to my personal website and find the other things that I've written. It's josephloconte.com. You'll find me over there. So, Jay, we've got a tremendous story to tell, I think, with Tolkien and Lewis: war, friendship, and imagination. We have episode 1 of our 5-part film series, which is basically done. We had a private film screening event at Grove City College back in September. We're going to go back to the UK and hopefully complete most of the filming for the rest of the series. The scripts are written, And then I think by the summer, I think we'll approach Amazon or Netflix and say, okay, here's episode 1. We've shot episodes 2, 3, and 4. Now let's make a deal. So
Man,
stay tuned. We're still raising money for the project. So we're always looking for help in all kinds of ways, but we're very excited about where this film series is going.
Well, you're punching holes in darkness. There's no other way to say it. And especially when we start talking about the big screen and the small screen,
Yeah.
and even our mobile screen. I mean,
Yeah.
So you're talking about another giant step in winning this battle for the mind and the battle for the hearts of a generation. A Hobbit, a Wardrobe, and a Great War, how J.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis rediscovered faith, friendship, and heroism. I'd like to think all 3 of those have to go together, by the way, but I'm so very grateful for your generosity of time, of heart, and being so transparent. And I'm just so grateful for your amazing gifts. So I'm a fan. So that'll help you rest easy. And I know you're going to become a follower of the Cowboys, to reciprocate that kind of love and affection.
Go Cowboys. Jay,
Hey.
it is just terrific to be with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about things that matter, talk about things that I care about, that I think your listeners and viewers would really be enriched by. So thank you for the opportunity, Jay. It's a great privilege.
Thank you. I'm very grateful for your time. God bless.
God bless you, sir.